The man in the hoodie stirred his black coffee slowly, his eyes locked on the entrance. The corner booth gave him the perfect view of everything: the kitchen, the waitstaff, the patrons. The door chimed. A young boy rolled in. His wheelchair made a soft mechanical whir as it moved over the diner's worn tile floor. He couldn't have been more than 9. Small frame, sharp eyes, and a quiet stillness, like someone who had learned to brace for the worst before most kids learn to tie their shoes. In his lap, a matte black credit card. The kind no waitress at this old roadside diner had probably ever held. 3 men in tailored suits at booth 7 turned at once. Rich types. Gold watches. Laughs like broken glass. One of them elbowed the other. "Look at this. Tesla on wheels." The others burst out laughing. The boy winced. He kept his eyes down, wheeling slowly toward the counter. "You lost, little man," one of the men called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. Hannah froze mid-pour. She glanced up from behind the counter and saw the boy's jaw tighten, his knuckles white on the joystick. His head lowered further. He didn't answer. Just kept moving. Then, he dropped the card. It hit the floor with a faint tap, landing between 2 bar stools. He reached down to grab it, and in the struggle, his wheelchair jerked forward. His face clipped the edge of the stool leg. A quiet thud. The room fell completely silent, except for the laughter from booth 7. "Somebody forgot to install the brakes," one man joked, pretending to steer an invisible wheel. Hannah couldn't breathe. Something cracked inside her. She walked around the counter, not rushed, not loud, and stopped at their table. All 3 men looked up, amused. She looked one straight in the eyes. Her voice was calm, quiet, lethal. "Do you always bully children? Or is today just special?" The smirk faltered. "Relax, lady," one muttered. It was a joke. She leaned in slightly. "So is a whoopee cushion. This is pathetic." A few heads turned. A woman covered her mouth. Somewhere, a spoon clinked to the floor. One of the men straightened. "Where's your manager?" "I am today." She took off her apron and placed it gently on the table between their untouched lattes. "You can either drink your coffee quietly, or take your laughter outside." They stared, stunned. Behind them, the boy sat still, his lip trembling. He held the card close like it was armor. And in the corner booth, the man in the hoodie didn't blink. He had seen what he needed to see. Hannah scrubbed at the sink like the grease owed her money. The laughter from earlier still echoed in her skull, like a song you can't turn off. She could still see the boy's face, red from shame, eyes too old for a child. She'd never seen him before. Didn't know his name. But something about him twisted something deep inside her. A quiet pain. One she kept buried beneath tip jars and broken coffee machines. The manager had left hours ago. Said he had an emergency, which usually meant poker or a woman that wasn't his wife. So, like always, the diner ran on Hannah's fraying nerves and aching feet. "Why'd I say that?" she muttered to herself, tossing a wet rag in the sink. "Why can't I just shut my mouth like everyone else?" The truth was, she knew why. She thought about her daughter. Little Ava. 4 years old. Curly-haired, loud-laughing, always asking questions. Born with a heart defect and a laugh big enough to shake the walls. Ava's medication cost $387 a month. Hannah made $2.83 an hour, plus tips. And tips weren't much in a place where the customers counted change for toast. There was no one else. No husband. No parents. Just Hannah and Ava, and a rusted blue Corolla with a cracked windshield and one good tire. She had fought through too many nights. Cried in too many walk-in freezers. Slept through too many eviction notices. So when she saw that boy today, alone, fragile, cornered, something inside her snapped. Because she'd seen that look before. In her daughter's eyes. the look that asks, "Do I deserve this? Or is this just what happens to people like me?" She picked up her phone. 4 missed calls. All from a number labeled pharmacy. She didn't have to check. She knew what they wanted. Payment. Rent was due in 4 days. She had $42 in her account. The fridge had milk and half a loaf of bread. That was it. But somehow, she didn't regret standing up. Even if it cost her the job. She looked up at the wall clock. 9:32 p.m. Most of the diners had cleared out. Except one. The man in the hoodie still sat in the corner booth, silent, nursing the same black coffee he ordered 3 hours ago. Hannah frowned. She didn't like loiterers. Especially ones who stared. She grabbed a towel and approached slowly. "Hey, we're closing soon. You okay over here?" The man looked up. Dark eyes. Calm. Deep lines across his brow. For a moment, he just studied her. Then he nodded once. "Yeah," he said softly. "Just thinking." She gave a polite smile. "All right. Just let me know if you need anything." He didn't answer. As she walked away, she didn't see him pull out a phone. Or the photo he opened. A picture of the boy in the wheelchair. Smiling beside him. Michael never liked being stared at. But it happened every day. At school. At the mall. At restaurants. Everywhere. Some people smiled awkwardly. Others looked away like his wheelchair made them uncomfortable. But the worst were the ones who laughed, like those men in the diner today. Their voices still rang in his ears as he lay in bed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on his ceiling. He hadn't spoken since he got home. Not a word. He didn't need to. His father knew. Michael's body was small. Fragile. His spine curved wrong before he was even born. Doctors had said he might never walk. Might never live past infancy. But he had. With surgeries, therapy, and more strength than anyone could measure. And yet, no matter how much he fought, the world always seemed to find new ways to remind him he was different. But what he hated more than the stares, was the silence that followed. Until today. Today, someone didn't look away. She stood up. He remembered how the waitress moved, fast, like a mama lion. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just steady, unshaken. She didn't even ask him who he was. Didn't know his name. But she stood for him. Nobody had ever done that before. He'd wanted to say thank you. Wanted to look her in the eyes and tell her what it meant. But his voice wouldn't come. His chest had tightened, and instead, he just clenched the card his dad had given him and whispered. "Let's go home." Now, lying in his room, he kept replaying the moment in his head. Not the laughter. Not the insult. Her. The way her hands had trembled, but her voice never cracked. The way she took off her apron like it meant nothing compared to what was right. His father entered the room quietly, as he always did, knocking once, even though it wasn't needed. Respectful. Gentle. Michael turned his head slightly, eyes heavy. His father sat beside him and ran a hand through his soft curls. "You okay?" he asked softly. Michael nodded once. Then paused. "She was brave." "Yeah," his dad said, his voice tight with something unspoken. "She really was." Will you thank her for me?" Michael whispered. His father didn't answer right away. He just stared at the wall for a long moment, then said, "I plan to do more than that." He stood, kissed Michael's forehead, and turned off the light. Michael closed his eyes, a small smile forming. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel invisible. The phone call came at 7:43 a.m. Hannah was rushing to get Ava ready for daycare, wrestling her daughter's curly hair into a ponytail when her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at the screen. Diner, manager. She answered on speaker while juggling a juice box. Hello? Yeah, hey, Hannah. We need to talk about yesterday. There was a pause, too long. Her heart thumped. I stood up for a kid, she said, already knowing what was coming. You embarrassed a table of regulars, he replied, voice cold. One of them posted a video. It's making rounds online. Good, she snapped. Let people see what they said. They're threatening legal action. Said you verbally harassed them. She froze. Are you serious? I'm sorry, Hannah. You're great with customers, but I gotta protect the business. Effective immediately, we're letting you go. The call ended. Just like that. Hannah stood in the middle of the kitchen, Ava's sock in one hand, her phone in the other. No income. No backup. And rent due in 4 days. Ava tugged her arm. Mama? You okay? Hannah knelt, pulling her close. She didn't cry, not yet. She just held her daughter tightly and whispered, We're okay, baby. We're always okay. But she wasn't. The day spiraled. At the daycare, they reminded her balance was 2 weeks overdue. At the pharmacy, the tech quietly told her that Ava's prescription would be held until she could pay the outstanding $189. She forced a smile through it all. Pretended she wasn't breaking. By afternoon, she was back home, sitting on the edge of the tub with the faucet dripping like a ticking clock. Her reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Worn. She had done the right thing. She had defended a child. And now she was being punished for it. She scrolled through her phone. And there it was. A video clip. A low-quality recording from a customer's phone, showing her standing between the boy and the men, apron in hand, boy strong. The caption read, Waitress goes off on rich men for bullying disabled kid, gets fired next day. The comments below were exploding. Give this woman a medal. She should be working for someone who respects people. This made me cry. What a queen. Where's the GoFundMe? Hannah blinked. The video had 142,000 views. But she didn't care about going viral. She just wanted her job back. Just wanted her daughter safe. Just wanted a break. A knock sounded at her door. She flinched, confused. No one ever came by unannounced. She wiped her face, walked to the door, and peeked through the peephole. A man in a suit. Sharp. Expensive. But calm. He held a white envelope in one hand, and something about his eyes made her breath catch. Not danger. But intention. Hannah opened the door slowly, her fingers tight on the knob. The man in the suit stood still, not smiling, not fidgeting. Just watching her with calm, unreadable eyes. He looked like he belonged in a boardroom, not on the porch of a rundown apartment complex with peeling paint and a broken buzzer. Mississippi Hannah Lane, he asked. Her stomach tightened. Who's asking? He raised the envelope slightly. I've been asked to deliver this to you. I'm not at liberty to explain the contents. But I was told to say, this is a thank you. Hannah blinked. From who? He shook his head once. I'm not allowed to say. She frowned. Is this a scam? Because if it is, I don't have money for whatever. You don't owe anything, he said gently. There are no strings. Just, open it. He extended the envelope. Hannah hesitated, then took it carefully. It was thick. Heavy. The man gave a small nod, then turned and walked away without another word. She watched him disappear into a sleek black car parked across the street. Windows tinted. Engine silent. It pulled away like a whisper. She closed the door, heart pounding. Back in the kitchen, she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Typed. Clean. She read aloud. Hannah Lane, your actions at the diner did not go unnoticed. You showed courage when most would have stayed silent. You defended someone who needed it most, not because you had to, but because it was right. Underscore this envelope contains a small token of gratitude. Please accept it with no obligation or expectation. The world needs more people like you. Underscore. There was no name. No sender address. Just a signature at the bottom. A grateful father. Hannah stared, confused. A grateful father? She reached back into the envelope, and her breath caught. A cashier's check. Her hands trembled. She looked closer. $10,000. She stumbled back into a chair. Her eyes burned, but she couldn't cry. Her body was too stunned. Too numb. Who would do this? Who even knew what happened at the diner? The video. Had someone seen the clip? Was this a stranger? She thought of the boy. His wide eyes. The way he had clutched the black card. Could it be his? She pressed the check to her chest and sat in silence. No strings. No conditions. Just $10,000. A week ago, she didn't even have enough for Ava's medicine. Now, her life could shift. But why her? And who was this father? Hannah barely slept that night. The check sat untouched on the kitchen counter like something sacred. She'd stared at it for hours. Googled the bank. Held it up to the light. It was real. $10,000. She could pay 2 months' rent. Cover Ava's medications for nearly a year. Fix her car. Breathe again. But the letter haunted her. A grateful father. She couldn't stop replaying it. Was it the boy's dad? Was he at the diner that day? Watching? And if so, why hadn't he said anything? By morning, the doorbell rang again. Hannah peeked through the curtain. Same black car. Same man in the tailored suit. Only this time, he wasn't holding an envelope. Just waiting. She opened the door slower this time. Good morning, Mississippi Lane. You're back. He gave a polite nod. I was asked to deliver a message. In person. Her arms crossed. If this is about the check. It's not, he interrupted. The man you helped wishes to speak with you. Privately. Why? He hesitated, then said simply, because you changed his son's life. And his. Hannah felt her pulse jump. His son? The man gave nothing away. He's asked if you'd meet him. Just for coffee. No expectations. I don't drink coffee. He almost smiled. Then tea. Water. Whatever you like. Hannah glanced inside at Ava coloring quietly at the kitchen table. Every part of her screamed to say no. Strangers. Secrets. Uncertainty. But something inside her, the same part that refused to stay silent at the diner, whispered, go. She stepped outside. 10 minutes. That's all. He opened the car door without another word. They drove in silence through the city. Past cafes, offices, noisy intersections. And then into a gated property tucked behind ivy-covered walls. A private garden cafe. Quiet. Secluded. Not open to the public. There was only one table set in the center. At it sat a man. Hoodie replaced with a dark blazer. Calm eyes. No entourage. No press. Just him. Hannah stepped out of the car, nerves buzzing like wires in her chest. He stood as she approached. Extended his hand. Thank you for coming. You sent the check? He nodded. Yes. You're the boy's father? He nodded again. And, you were at the diner? I watched the whole thing, he said. Start to finish. She narrowed her eyes. Then why didn't you step in? His answer was quiet. Because I've spent my life watching people show their true character when they think no one's watching. And that day, I saw yours. She said nothing. I didn't want to interrupt that moment. I wanted to learn from it. He pulled out the chair for her. Please, he said. Let me explain. She hesitated, and sat. The billionaire stirred his tea, not speaking at first. Hannah watched him, tense, guarded. Everything about this was strange. Too quiet. Too clean. Too calm. But when he finally looked up, something in his eyes told her, this wasn't a man used to asking for help. My name is Ethan Cole, he said quietly. You might not recognize it. I try to stay off the tabloids. But my company, Cole Enterprises. We own half the buildings in Midtown. She said nothing. He continued. My son's name is Michael. He was born with spina bifida. Spent more time in hospitals than playgrounds. He's had 12 surgeries. He can't run. He can't walk. But he can think, dream, and hope like any child. His voice cracked on the word hope, but he caught himself. I give him everything money can buy, the best doctors, the best tutors, the safest home. But what I can't give him, he paused, is protection from cruelty. Hannah's face softened. Ethan took a breath. Yesterday, I took Michael out for pancakes. It's rare, he gets overwhelmed in public. But he begged me to try. Said he wanted to be brave. I let him wheel ahead into the diner while I parked the car. I was seconds behind. Just enough to see them mock him. Laugh at him. Call him names. His jaw tightened. I was ready to charge in. To tear them apart. But then, I saw you. He met her eyes. I saw how you didn't flinch. Didn't hesitate. You gave up your job for my son. And you didn't even know who he was. Hannah's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. I don't know what came over me, she whispered. I just couldn't watch it happen. Ethan nodded slowly. That instinct? That's what this world needs. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded paper. A check. She flinched. I already got one. This one's different. He placed it gently on the table. Hannah unfolded it with trembling fingers. $100,000. She stared at it like it might vanish. I can't take this, she said immediately, shaking her head. This is too much. I don't. It's not charity, Ethan said firmly. It's an invitation. Invitation? He leaned forward. I want to offer you a job. A real one. A purpose-driven one. She blinked. Doing what? Helping me launch a foundation, in Michael's name. For kids like him. To fight back against cruelty. To protect the ones no one else sees. And I want you to run it. She was speechless. You showed me more in 5 minutes than most people do in a lifetime, he said. I can teach business. I can't teach character. Hannah stared at the check. Then at him. Her hands shook. Her world was changing. And she didn't even know it yet. 2 days later, Hannah stood in the garden courtyard of the Foundation's temporary office, a converted brownstone near the city park. A little outdoor space, a glass door, and a courtyard full of potted plants someone had forgotten to water. But today, it felt like magic. She held Ava's hand tightly. Her daughter was bouncing on her toes, ponytail flopping, holding a doll in one arm and a juice box in the other. Why are we here, Mama? Ava asked for the 4th time. Hannah smiled nervously. We're meeting someone special. Inside, through the glass, she saw Ethan and Michael already waiting. Michael sat near the window in his motorized chair, small hands in his lap, eyes down. nervous. He hadn't stopped talking about the waitress since that day. But what really made his face light up was when Ethan told him she had a daughter. He didn't know what it meant exactly, to have a friend, but he wanted to try. Hannah pushed open the door. The room felt still at first. Michael looked up, just for a second, then quickly back down. Ava blinked. Then broke into a big, toothy smile. "Hi," she said, walking straight up to him. "I'm Ava. You want to see my doll? She has 2 braids and a missing shoe, but she's still cool." Michael blinked. Then, smiled. Just a little. Ava didn't wait for an answer. She plopped down beside him and placed the doll on the armrest of his wheelchair like it belonged there. Michael looked at his dad. Ethan gave a subtle nod, lips twitching at the corners. Michael turned to Ava. "I'm Michael." Ava's eyes widened. "Like the Ninja Turtle." He laughed, a small, awkward laugh, but real. "I can't walk," he said plainly, like a fact. "My legs don't work." Michael blinked. Then smiled again. Wider this time. From the corner of the room, Hannah watched, heart tight in her chest. And next to her, Ethan murmured, "They're going to be okay." She nodded. "Yeah. They really are." For the next 20 minutes, the 2 children talked about cartoons, snacks, space, frogs, and, surprisingly, taxes, which Michael insisted were unfair based on a YouTube video he saw. Ava didn't understand, but she agreed loudly. It was the kind of moment that didn't need to be extraordinary to be unforgettable. It was quietly perfect. As they laughed, Ethan turned to Hannah. "This is just the beginning," he said softly. "The foundation. The families will help. The kids will protect. You were the spark, Hannah." She looked at the children again. No cameras. No applause. Just healing. Just life. The ribbon stretched across the entrance of the new facility, a 2-story building with bright blue banners that read, "The Michael Foundation, for Children with Invisible Battles." The crowd was bigger than anyone expected. Dozens of families stood outside. Some with kids in wheelchairs. Some with walkers. Others just holding each other's hands, eyes filled with quiet hope. Hannah stood near the entrance, hands trembling, heart pounding harder than the day she lost her job. She wore a simple navy dress. Her hair pinned back. She barely recognized herself. Ethan stood beside her, wearing his signature calm. His hand rested gently on Michael's shoulder, who sat in his wheelchair beaming, not shy today, but proud. "You okay?" Ethan whispered to her. "No," Hannah laughed softly. "I'm terrified." "Good," he said. "Means it matters." A reporter nearby called out, "Mississippi Lane, is it true you were just a waitress when all this began?" Hannah stepped forward, nerves fluttering in her chest. She took a breath, then spoke into the mic. "I wasn't just anything," she said calmly. "I was a mother. A human being. I saw a child being mocked, and I stood up. That's all. You don't need money or power to make a difference. Just courage." The crowd clapped. A few cheered. A woman in the back wiped tears. Hannah turned to Michael. "You ready?" He nodded. "Let's do it." Together, they cut the ribbon. Cheers erupted. Kids rushed inside first, followed by parents, volunteers, and press. Inside, the building was filled with color, art supplies, therapy rooms, quiet spaces, adaptive tech corners, reading nooks. Every detail had a purpose. Every space honored a child's need to be safe, heard, and whole. Ava ran ahead, holding Michael's hand as best she could from beside his wheelchair. They laughed the whole way in. In the main room, a giant mural stretched across the back wall. Painted hands of all colors forming the shape of a heart. At its center, the words, "Kindness is louder than cruelty." Hannah stood back and watched the family settle in. A father wept quietly in the corner, holding his son close. A girl in braces traced the heart on the wall with her fingertips. A young volunteer adjusted a boy's oxygen tubes with care. And everywhere, smiles. She felt Ethan step beside her again. "I thought I built empires," he whispered. "But this feels more real." She looked at him, eyes full. "You gave me a future I didn't even know to hope for." He smiled. "No. You built this. I just backed the right horse." They shared a quiet laugh. And in that moment, Hannah realized, this wasn't about a lucky break. It was about becoming the person she was always meant to be. The diner was different now. New name. New colors. Same smell of coffee and maple syrup. A hand-painted sign above the door read, "Second Chances Cafe, where kindness serves first." It was quiet this morning. Early. Golden light spilled through the windows like honey. At the corner booth, the very same one where cruelty once laughed out loud, sat Hannah. She sipped her coffee slowly, watching the kitchen staff prepare plates with care. Not rushed. Not angry. This place didn't run on stress anymore. It ran on purpose. Across from her, Michael sat in his chair, eyes focused as he helped Ava write out name tags for the volunteers. He was taller now. Stronger. Still quiet, but the kind of quiet that made people listen. The foundation had expanded. 3 centers across the state. Dozens of families served. Thousands of lives touched. Hannah didn't work late shifts anymore. She worked strategy meetings, advocacy panels, keynote addresses. And when people asked how it all began, she always told the same story. But never like she was the hero. Only that she was lucky enough to be in the right place, with the courage to not look away. Ethan entered the cafe quietly, dressed in jeans and a worn jacket, a to-go cup already in hand. He kissed Michael's head and handed Ava a cookie from the counter. "Don't tell your mom." Ava giggled. "She already saw you, silly." Ethan slid into the booth next to Hannah, leaning back. "You good?" he asked. She nodded. "Better than good." They sat in silence for a while, the kind you don't need to fill when your heart is full. Then Ethan chuckled to himself. "You know what I keep thinking about?" "What?" He looked out the window. "Pancakes." She smiled. "Of course you do." "No, really," he said. "That morning. Michael begging for pancakes. Me nearly saying no because I had a meeting. Him rolling ahead into that diner. Me parking the car, and walking in just in time to see you." She went quiet. Ethan's voice softened. "You think it was random. But I think God nudged the universe that morning. Lined it all up. That boy. That moment. You." Hannah's eyes shimmered, but she didn't look away. She whispered, "It all started with pancakes." Ethan nodded. "And one woman who refused to stay silent." Michael looked up from the table. "Are we famous yet?" Ethan grinned. "I'd say so." Ava leaned over and kissed Hannah's cheek. "You're my hero, Mama." Hannah smiled, and for the first time in years, it reached all the way to her soul. Outside the window, a new family approached the cafe. A little boy in leg braces, holding his mom's hand. Hannah stood. Smoothed her blouse. And walked to the door. Ready to welcome them in.